Coming up on today's Airborne, a Blue Angels commander is punished by the U.S. Navy. Virgin Galactic is cleared for flight from Spaceport America, and applications are open for the EAA AirVenture Cup race. Welcome to Airborne on Aero-TV. I'm Ashley Hale. Here is an update to a story ANN has been following for several months. On June 2nd, at a U.S. Navy legal proceeding referred to as an Admiral's Mast, Captain Gregory McWherter, the former commanding officer of the U.S. Navy's Blue Angels, was found guilty of violating Uniform Code of Military Justice articles that included failure to obey an order or regulation and conduct unbecoming of an officer. As a result, Captain McWherter was given non-judicial punishment in the form of a punitive letter of reprimand. It was found that these offenses occurred during his second command tour as the Blue Angels commanding officer from May of 2011 through November of 2012. The investigation concluded that McWherter witnessed, condoned, and encouraged behavior that, while juvenile and sophomoric in the beginning, ultimately and in the aggregate became destructive, toxic, and hostile. According to the investigation, at no time did the behavior lead to sexual assault. Vice Admiral David Buss, Commander, Naval Air Force Pacific, said in part, quote, "Our Navy has very high standards of conduct for all of our personnel. The totally inappropriate command environment fostered by Captain McWherter was so unacceptable that it should have been clear to each member of the team that standards of personal decency and respect were violated," end quote. A key agreement has been reached between the FAA, Virgin Galactic, and Spaceport America that will allow commercial flights of SpaceShipTwo. Tom Patton reports.
The agreement provides procedures for the safe integration of commercial licensed space launch operations into the National Airspace System from Spaceport America. The New Mexico Spaceport Authority also has an agreement in place with the U.S. Army's White Sands Missile Range to support space launch activities within their airspace. In addition, Virgin Galactic now has agreements in place with Edwards Air Force Base and the FAA's Joshua Control Facility to cover space flights in California. As a whole, these agreements provide coverage for the company's airspace needs through the remainder of the test flight program in California and into commercial service into New Mexico. For Airborne, I'm Tom Patton.
You're watching Airborne. We'll be back after these messages with more news and our feature of the day.
Since the early days of powered flight, pilots have struggled with landing in crosswinds. In fact, crosswinds and wind gusts cause more landing accidents than fog, thunderstorms, and icing combined. That's where the Redbird X-Wind SE comes in. By placing pilots in gusty crosswind conditions for extended periods of time, the X-Wind SE gives instructors all the time they need to teach the pilot the proper techniques for landing in crosswind conditions. For more information on Redbird X-Wind SE and Redbird's entire line of flight training devices, visit www.redbirdflightsimulation.com.
Welcome back. If you'd like to support Airborne, Aero-TV, our website, or our podcast, send an email to jim@aero-news.net. The House Ways and Means Committee has approved legislation to make permanent the immediate expensing of 50% of new investments in equipment and software. The change, if it makes it through the entire legislative process, is expected to have a significant impact on the sale of business aircraft by providing tax incentives for companies to do so. The National Air Transportation Association joined other major associations, including the National Association of Manufacturers and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, in support of the legislation. NATA President and CEO Thomas L. Hendricks said, quote, "Studies have shown that by encouraging NATA member companies and others to make additional immediate investments in the U.S. economy, we can create over 200,000 jobs," end quote. With some 2,000 Aero-TV programs webcast to cyberspace, sometimes it can be fun to look back and enjoy some of the places we've seen, the flyers we've met, and the planes we've flown. Here's a look at one of our favorite Aero-TV classic episodes.
The date, it's one of those dates that'll live in infamy, 8/8/08. The company had a devastating fire.
Aerospace industries face a number of challenges, but the story of Aerosonic involved more than just a challenge. Their production facility burned to the ground, and the story of their recovery is an inspiration. Search Surviving 8/8/08, Aerosonic Triumphs Over Adversity on Aero-TV's news channel. This July, fast airplanes, race pilots, and aviation enthusiasts will once again be descending upon Mitchell Municipal Airport in South Dakota, in advance of the 17th annual EAA AirVenture Cup. This year's race is planned to start from Mitchell with a mandatory turn point over Mankato, Minnesota. Pilots then set course, throttle wide open, to the finish line in Wausau, Wisconsin, for a total of just over 400 statute miles. The EAA AirVenture Cup race provides builders and pilots an opportunity to race their aircraft in a safe and fun environment, all while promoting aviation in and over the communities where the races are held. Race launch is scheduled for Sunday, July 27th at 9:30 a.m., weather permitting. Once on the race course, the AirVenture Cup race is a timed competition. Participants compete against the clock and are divided into categories based on their certification, landing gear configuration, and engine size. Each class has first, second, and third place awards. Race entry application must be received and approved by July 1st. Airborne is brought to you by some of the best sponsors in the aviation business. We'll be right back with more news.
ADS-B will be mandatory for most aircraft by 2020 in the United States, but you can benefit from ADS-B today with the Bendix King KT-74 Mode S transponder. The KT-74 meets the global mandates for ADS-B out when attached to a suitable WAAS GPS. Finally, the extraordinary story of the world-changing X-Prize space competition is being told and illustrated with hundreds of insider photos in Jim Campbell's colorful new book, Beyond the Blue. Journey with Jim as he flies formation with spaceships, plays in zero gravity, prepares rocket racers, and documents the amazing first decade of the personal space race. Available this summer. Get your advance order in now by checking out www.kindredspirit.com.
Welcome back. In a recent test, NASA demonstrated that it can land an unmanned spacecraft on a rugged planetary surface in the pitch dark. The free flight test was the first of its kind for NASA's Autonomous Landing Hazard Avoidance Technology, or ALHAT. During testing, Morpheus, an unmanned spacecraft capable of carrying 1,100 pounds of cargo, powered its way up to more than 800 feet into the dark Florida sky at NASA's Kennedy Space Center, using solely ALHAT's hazard detection system for guidance. The hazard detection system is assisted by 3 light detection and ranging sensors known as LiDAR to provide 3-dimensional elevation maps of the terrain and precision distance to the ground. This allowed a safe landing on the lunar-like hazard field a quarter-mile away from the NASA center. Eric Roback, ALHAT Flash LiDAR lead engineer, said, quote, "Once this technology goes into service, the days of having to land 20 or 30 miles from where you really want to land for fear of hazardous craters and rocks will be over." Bombardier began tearing down the engine that failed during ground operation of its first flight test CSeries airplane. The airplane suffered what Bombardier described as an engine-related incident during stationary maintenance testing. It's reported that Bombardier, Pratt & Whitney, the engine builder, and Canadian authorities are investigating the incident. Bombardier officials say they are still planning to start deliveries of the airplane in 2015, but if this investigation becomes lengthy, it could affect the delivery timeline. The C-Series was originally planned to have been flying passengers beginning in 2013. According to Bombardier President and Chief Operating Officer Guy Hatchie, damage to the actual airplane was minor and easy to repair, but it's not known if the problem with the engine was a production issue that could be easy to correct or a design problem that could lead to a lengthy and costly delay. Well, that's our program. Remember to get comprehensive, real-time, 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories anytime at aero-news.net. Remember, Airborne is streamed 3 times a week and is always online. Join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for a new edition of Airborne. I'm Ashley Hale. Thanks for watching.